Eamonn O'Brien, and you're so welcome to the Reluctant Speakers Club Expert Series. And today we're talking about a really interesting topic. You know, as speakers, when the microphone is turned off, the truth is your job is not over. The truth is it's only just begun. And when it comes to cultivating relationships, both during and after the occasion, we have a fantastic expert in the chair today. It is Terry Brock, all the way from Florida. Terry.
Eamonn, it's great to be with you here. And as a matter of fact, not even in the chair today. I'm out moving around trying the new standing up routine, so it's kind of fun.
No, good. Well, now, Terry, of course, you have an extraordinary pedigree. You're a Hall of Fame keynote speaker, a social media marketing expert, and co-author with the lovely Gina of Clout Matters, which is all about influence.
Yes, that's true. Oh, and you forgot really good haircut, too. So,
well, you know, my father didn't have much hair, and he would say that that was just a wide parting.
A wide party. This is a very wide party. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, what you're talking about, I think really it is all about relationships. And it's about building relationships with people so that you establish them and then you build them. And then here's the most important, maintaining those relationships. And that's really what it's about.
Yes. Well, and today really, Terry, relationships have always been important, but now that more and more communication is occurring online, why is it even more important for us to pay attention to who we're communicating with, how we're communicating with, and in fact, how we kind of put the pieces together?
Well, I think it's important because now the world has shifted such that we have really a worldwide market. As speakers, it really doesn't matter where you are. Geography really doesn't matter as much. What does matter is the connections with people. Because you and I, we were able to meet. You were kind enough to come to the program that we did there in Ireland and got a chance to see you. Come to find out you have connection in my home state of Michigan in the United States with your mother being from St. Joseph.
Yes, mother-in-law, yeah.
Know about that. And we get a chance to really build those relationships because we're in different countries really doesn't matter. And the fact that now we've got the technology to connect so that we're having a video connection right now. We can see each other live. We can hear each other live. It's a wonderful thing. We couldn't do this before. And I want you to know, Eamonn, I'm so happy for this. I'm going to go ahead and pay for the Google Plus Hangout that we're doing right now. How's
good,
that?
man. Thank you.
All the costs are on me. I realize there's none, so that's good.
Well, you know, there's a lot of trick and treating happening today because you may or may not know today is all about Halloween. And since we are talking about R-commerce, I think it's about time we had our first R.
Yes, R. I like that. Yeah, with the pirate thing. That's good. And you notice I have the king's hat on here because in America, we don't have the official kings and queens, but we're all kings in America. Right. Yes, indeed.
Yes. Well, the customer is indeed king, so I should probably lose this and find another adornment. In developing the relationships, and you talked about the fact that here we are having a conversation. You're in Florida and I'm here in Dublin. But the truth is that, you know, we are all so time-strapped and we all have so much happening in our lives that we can't be all things to all people. So maybe you share your thoughts on, if you like, the importance of being a little bit strategic about what you're doing and how to make the most out of those relationships.
Yeah, I think you hit the key word there. It's being strategic. You have to think through how you're going to live your life, how you're going to conduct business. Because we can reach people internationally, that's good. The one thing, though, that is a genuine challenge that we cannot overcome is the time differences. For us, right here, now it is 11 after 2 on a Friday afternoon. Over in Australia, it is, let's see, about 4 in the morning over in Sydney and Melbourne. And we're doing business with these people all around. And so somebody's going to be sleeping. Somebody's going to be awake. And that means that whenever you're ready to do business, you've got to look at where they are. So strategy becomes the important part of it, of thinking what you're going to do. We use a lot of checklists, my partner Gina Carr and I, and helps us to say each day, what is it that we're doing in each week? Are we going through the checklist? We're using just a Google Plus or a Google Hangout, or not a Google Hangout, actually a Google Doc.
Google Doc, yeah. You can
Yeah,
share
a
documents.
spreadsheet on Google Docs, very simple, no complication there. Just every day, did we do this and put an X there? Or how much was this score or that score, et cetera. I even keep track of the price of gold and Bitcoin. So what was the price of gold on this day? What was the price of Bitcoin on that day? And then I can track it over a quarter. I'll use the 90 days roughly over a quarter and be able to track and see what's going on with how many posts I did on Facebook, on LinkedIn, things like that, so that we have that overall strategy, as you say.
Well, I like that on two fronts because you're doing two things actually in the same breath there. Number one, you're thinking about what you're going to do, so the planning is there. And the second thing is that you're actually checking to see what happened. So you're not basically going on blindly, you're really thinking through, okay, so we thought this would happen, we've done this, we've done that, and it's dynamic because truth is that, you know, the capacity, the changes in how tools are used, the new tools that come on board, there's constant overwhelm, and so you do have to constantly test and see what's happening.
Yes, absolutely. You want to test all the time. Keep checking, and a good way to do that is a little spreadsheet like that. It doesn't take a lot. And just put the days across the top and the activities down the side and tracking those, even the point of personal goals and personal activities. For instance, for me, every day is important. I talk about in my books on this, that you have study, you have exercise, and meditation. Tailoring that to what works for you. And so I put down literally in my exercise how far I would go on the treadmill. You know,
Yes.
what I would do, and if I run, I usually run my 3 miles, and what I did on each of them. And then, like with meditation, did I do that? Study, what did I read? Did I listen to this? Did I do something else? And that way I can go back at the end of a quarter. And a quarter is a good time. You got 90 days. You know, you're going to have some up days, some down days, but over a quarter, you can get a lot of information. And then at the end of the year, go back over the year to say, okay, how did I do? Did I really, oh yeah, I remember on that day when so-and-so came by, or I'll put in there people that I want to visit. For instance, I will put into my video connections the one that you and I are having right now. So
Exactly.
that I can look back and remember that.
Good, I'm glad. And interestingly, you're using the word reflection there, and I think, you see, that's so important. And I know you're a great studier of history, and I saw something maybe just 3-4 months ago, and it was talking about how presidents in bygone years actually used their time. And it was so interesting to see time and again that there was scheduled time, specifically scheduled time for reflection.
Yeah, that's very important to have that time to step back. Otherwise, we're just going at a frenetic pace, and that's so easy to do in our fast-paced world today. That we're just going, got this to do, got that to do. There's always something to do. There's always a new Facebook post or a new website or a new article that's out there or a podcast. You specifically have to take time to step back and reflect. And I often will call that meditation, whether you do it in a formal way or maybe it's prayer or just sit quietly and reflect and think. I think that's critical for us. And yes, we turn the cell phones off, our mobile phones, we turn them off, we get away, and barring an emergency, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to be alone. I'm not going to answer the phone. We have a wonderful thing called voicemail. Take that time every day to be quiet and to reflect. Matter of fact, Eamonn, I'm going to share something with you and your audience right now.
Good.
I'm taking my little camera, and I'm going to show you a way that I do that right now, looking out over the lake. There.
Oh, lovely.
That's what I get to see on a beautiful, and by the way, look out there, beautiful blue sky today here in Orlando, and I can see that, and just sitting out there on my balcony, you're seeing, I mean, we're getting real intimate here. There's our balcony, and I'll sit out there and just relax and quietly think or meditate on what's going on, and I think everyone should have a place like that.
They
And
should.
even if
And
it's
can
a
I tell
place
you,
that's
though,
in
that
your mind.
you are showing off a little, I have to say, Terry, because if I did the same thing in Dublin right now, it's lashing rain. It wouldn't have nearly the same effect.
Yeah, the rain, we can get that here too, that's true. But you know, here's the beauty of it. In your mind, everyone can find that wonderful, quiet, perfect place.
Yes.
It might be that mountainside retreat you saw once before, or that lake where you grew up as a child, or that forest, whatever works for you. Go there in your mind on a regular daily basis. And that kind of reflection and quietness is not only a good idea, I would even submit it's necessary in our very frenetic, busy world that we have today.
It centers our thinking. It absolutely does. And speaking of centering of thinking, you know, you and I have talked before about your global speaking acumen and the types of experiences you've had in going from location to location. And one of the challenges for speakers when they do go overseas is truthfully, the audience, of course, is coming from a different place, whether it be points of reflection or anything else. I'm interested in your thoughts about how you mold, how you shape, how you alter what you do and how you do it when you're dealing with audiences that are not like those you're going to find in sunny Florida or nearby.
But as a speaker, and this is specifically to those that are speakers, we have wonderful opportunities to earn money and to really get educated. That's what traveling is, education, wherever we go. Just recently, I was in Mexico, about 2 hours south of Mexico City, speaking. They were interpreting what I said into Spanish. And then the next day, I got back to Orlando, did the laundry real fast, hopped on the plane the next day and went over to Germany, speaking over there. And they had the interpreters there for it, only in German. And I find what we have to do is we have to go in with an inquisitive mind. Make sure that you always keep an open, questioning, accepting, how do you do it here, mind. One of the things I like to do is learn how to speak at least a few words in those languages wherever I go. My Spanish is absolutely horrendous right now. I'm working on it. And my German is even worse. But I try to communicate at least a few words and what they're doing so that I can say, muchas gracias, señor, when I'm in Mexico, where they're speaking Spanish, or a Dankeschön when I'm over in Germany. Learn a little bit of that and really go in with an attitude of, what can I learn here? How can I be of benefit to them? Be aware of what's going on. And I'd say for Americans that are watching this, get out of your American skin. You know, don't think, well, this is the way we do it in America, therefore you ought to do it that way here. Well, that's baloney. There's another more colorful military term, but I'll use the word baloney. And, you know, we need to get rid of that, and we need to be much more accommodating and learning and to go, oh, really? Tell me about that. I didn't know that. I had not heard that before. Tell me the way that you think or why you believe this way, rather than a confrontational point of view. And I think we learn a lot more that way and get along with people a lot better.
Well, I love that, Terry, because as you know, my background is in cross-cultural marketing. I used to make hundreds and hundreds of commercials in lots of different languages. And what you said is absolutely right. The first thing you want to do is you want to come from the other person's point of view, and you need to listen.
Yes, absolutely. You have to. I think Chris Brogan says it really well. He says we need to grow bigger ears.
Oh, cool. Mine are quite big.
Yeah, that's good. Well, they can be, and I think we all can have even bigger ears. I certainly want to be able to listen more, and I think we do better that way. And going back what you said, my ancestors, part of my ancestry is Native Americans, and they would say to walk a mile in the other man's moccasins. To understand it from that other person's point of view is critical.
Yes. And tell me, when it comes, though, to, if you like, cultivating and kind of growing relationships. So let's think about, you know, the conversation is over, the microphone has been turned off, and now our job is, if you like, to have the conversation continue. So when you call it word of mouth, or as Connor Keppel was in talking with me recently, he called it word of mouse. I don't know if that was his, but I'm going to give him credit. What are your thoughts about that and what you've learned on that in that realm?
Oh, I would agree that I think that word of mouse that we talk about a lot is very important. What Connor's saying, yes, that's critical. That if you just meet someone and you swap cards and say, yeah, great to meet you, etc., if that's all you do it, you've lost your effort, all that you put into that. Much better to follow up. Staying in touch with people. A good way to do that is for you to have a blog or a podcast or something so that people can stay in touch with you. A way we do it today is with social media. Get on social media with the people, and I find that's enjoyable because then I get a chance to know them as people. I get a chance to know where they are, what's important to them, and get to know more about this person that I just met that I think, wow, a wonderful person. And by using social media, we can do that literally worldwide.
It is really incredible the level and nature of conversation we can have.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we get to know people. As a matter of fact, if you don't mind, one of the things I'm noticing right now, over your head, it looks like you have some samurai swords. Is that correct? Over your left shoulder?
It's not a samurai
Up
sword.
there on the top?
No, you're looking at photographic equipment, and some of it very, very old. And I can't. I mean, some of it is, you know, we're going back to the brownie and before. So this is kind of, if you've ever seen those Core Blimey, what's the name of that song that Tommy Steele sang in that very silly movie from back in the 50s or 60s. It'll come to me in a second. But anyway, What a Photograph was the name of the song. And anyway, it's akin to that.
But you see, that's a good example. With the technology we have today, I mean, all the people that are watching right now, including me, are looking right directly into your study. So there's personal pictures, things that reflect your personality. I thought, oh, those look like samurai swords, because I have some. Japan is a big part of my life and what I've done, and I like it. And then also you see the books that are here for me. You know, because books are an important part of what I do in my life, and I love reading and learning. And so we get a chance today, as never before, to really be in someone's home, see what's going on, and get a chance to build that relationship, and the relationships that are going to be really solid and last a long time.
I couldn't agree more. And in the context of building relationships that can last a long time, and to use an Americanism, if you were thinking about Danger Will Robinson and things that you mustn't and shouldn't do in cultivating relationships, what would be top of your list?
I'd say trying to force something on someone. That ties a little hardcore, hardcore ideas of being, I embrace a lot of the idea of freedom and liberty, libertarian ideas, that you don't force something on someone else. You never initiate force or coercion. Defend yourself, yes, absolutely, but never initiate. I think too often people try to force something. I see it on LinkedIn. You might have seen this as well. I have a policy on LinkedIn that I do a little bit differently than they recommend at LinkedIn. I accept people who say, hey, can I follow you? For the most part, by default, I accept that. The reason is, as a speaker, and speakers can relate to this, let's assume you just gave a presentation, you had many people in the audience, they loved you. You were great. They standing ovation, or they just cheered you, and some people leave. There's not everyone going to come up and see you personally. Someone that might love you could have been in that audience, and they had to leave real quickly after the end. They want to stay in touch with you. So I befriend all the people. However, to avoid something, sometimes I've seen people that as soon as I friend them, immediately they bounce back saying, hi, we're wonderful, we do this kind of thing, you ought to buy from us because of this. Yeah. And I immediately go in and say, nope, I'm removing that connection.
That really irritates me. It's a pet peeve, actually.
Yep, me too. It's like they don't know me, and they're trying to tell me, you know, that they do programming, or they design websites, or they do whatever, and good for them. I love entrepreneurs, and I think they should have the right to explain it, but they need to do that in a different way. I want to get to know them as a person, particularly on LinkedIn. Now, if they want to send an ad, and I notice their name is on an ad that's on LinkedIn that's there to pay the bills for LinkedIn, hey, that's okay. I understand it. But please don't just immediately start selling stuff to me because we just made a connection.
No, I couldn't agree more. And then if you like to round out, and I knew we were going to have a great chat tonight, Terry, and so thank you so much for doing that. I know it's afternoon for you. Yes. Quick question for you. If you were to think about the hardest lesson that you've had to learn over all of the years, and you have been so involved in social media and in leading edge social media for N number of years, what's the hardest lesson you had to learn, and what could you share on the back of that?
Gee, I never thought of that. I would guess it would probably be the discipline that's necessary, and I'm still learning it. Still learning as we go. It's like, okay, you did a great job last Wednesday. That was fab. Now, last Thursday, you were good, and Friday, you were good, but guess what? Now it's a new week, and you got to get started again. And so to continually renew, but then that's how we stay alive. Biologically, we do best. Physically, spiritually, mentally, we do best when we're constantly stretching and growing. Constantly getting in there, do that work on the treadmill, do those swimming laps. We got a wonderful time to get out here and swim a lot in Florida. I love that. And being able to read. You might have read a couple of books last week. Read a few more now. So I think it's really the discipline to stay with it, particularly when your body's going, no, you don't have to. No, just rest today. You got to go, no, and you got to kick yourself and say, I'm going to get out there and do whatever it takes with dogged determination and make it happen.
Yeah, no, I think that those are wonderful words of advice, and I want to thank you for joining me today, Terry. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Eamonn. It is great to be with you, my friend.
Good. Well, thank you for listening in today, and you have been listening to the Reluctant Speakers Club, our expert series, and until the next time, great speaking.